never want to win an argument. And this is why. When you look to win an argument, you will often lose the relationship. Like if you set out to only prove people wrong, yeah, you might win the point, but you will lose the person. Being right doesn't keep you company. Let's put it that way. When I look at his arguments, there's only something to win. All I've won is really the first step to apologize, typically. You and I are in an argument, and I say something that's really hurtful, and then you leave. You hang up the phone. What have I won? I've won awkward silence now when we pass each other in the hall. I've won that awkward feeling now I have to pick up the phone and apologize. I still have to find a way to probably work with you or live with you.
The more you go through, the less empathy you have. You would think that because you've been through that stuff, you would have more empathy. But as you rise through the ranks, you actually have less empathy because you've been through it, you've overcome it, and you kind of look at people like, can you please get it together? It makes sense because it's like, get through this. I've gotten through this. Whereas if you're dealing with someone who hasn't gone through it or is in the lower ranks at work, they've got more empathy. That's where a lot of people sometimes get lost with their supervisors. I even noticed that for myself. I try to have empathy, but there's moments where you're like, man, you want to control it on the inside, but be like, there's times where you're like, can we please just get it together? Like it's not that big of a deal.
Go work for 24 months in a sector you love, that you're passionate about, even if they don't pay you. Go in there and be an apprentice. Do that first. Most young entrepreneurs say, nah, I don't want to work for anybody. I said, yeah, you do actually. You do want to work for somebody. You want to just understand how all the cogs move. Just 24 months. And after that, launch. The first one will probably fail. You're going to start with your parents giving you $10,000 or whatever it is. But you will have the baseline knowledge of your industry. You will know who the participants are. You will understand how it works. And you'll have a much higher probability of success. But the key is to launch in your mid to early 20s because you need to burn a few years failing. That matters.
By 2050, over 3/4 of countries won't have high enough fertility rates to keep their population size growing over time. The global fertility rate has decreased from 4.84 live births per women in 1950 to 2.2 in 2021 and is expected to drop to 1.5 by 2100. You think it's one of the biggest evolutionary challenges we're facing?
I think we're going through an evolutionary bottleneck. People will often be quite confident about, oh, it's feminism, oh, it's capitalism, whatever. I think that the single factor that actually best explains why you're seeing such massive drops in fertility across not just Europe and America, but Northeast Asia, as you were saying, and also actually the Middle East has quite low birth rates. Indian subcontinent has quite low birth rates. Basically, the only place in the world that still has high birth rates is sub-Saharan Africa. So this is basically a global phenomenon. The single factor which best explains it is affluence. You cross a certain threshold in terms of GDP per capita and fertility falls a lot. And it's not that high a threshold. It's like $10,000.
So the richer you get, the less kids you have.
Yeah.
Kind of fast should one be doing?
If a patient is just simply looking to reduce his visceral fat, then I start with 12-12, which means 12 hours, you don't eat anything. You just drink liquids with no calories in it. And then 12 hours is your feeding period. We start with that. And we do that for about 2 to 3 weeks. Then we quickly move to 18-6. 18-6 means 6 hours you get to eat. 18 hours, it's only water, black tea, black coffee, green tea, no calories. Now, if a patient is very overweight, a patient has diabetes, and your goal is to reverse the diabetes, the patient needs to lose 60 pounds, then those patients have a special type of need. I will take them to a 48-hour fast once a week. Sometimes I'll go to a 3-day water fast every 9 days. Every 9 days. You will do OMAD. OMAD means 1 meal a day only, every day for 9 days. And then you're going to give me a 3-day water fast.
The relationship between money and kids is an interesting one where every parent wants to use their hard work, what money they might have. It doesn't have to be a ton. You don't have to be rich, but they want to use their hard work in order to give their kids a better life. When a lot of times what the kid needs to do is learn on their own, and they're going to learn vicariously the values that you have about money. They're going to learn just by watching. You don't need to sit your kids down and say, let me teach you how to budget. Let me teach you how to save. Let me teach you how to invest. They're going to watch you and figure it out. And so you have to just lead by example with those kids. You cannot lecture values into them. They're just going to watch how you spend, what you value, how you save, how you judge other people and talk about other people. And they're going to form a philosophy of money based off of that.
Narcissistic person has this very well developed, very successful behavioral repertoire. They can go out in the world and they're able to be charming and charismatic and confident and smart and the center of attention and running companies. And behind closed doors, they psychologically eviscerate the people they're with, spouses, partners, family members, close friends, maybe people who are below them in an organization, people where they can kind of get away with it. So the people they're harming, the world thinks this person's fantastic. At least a person who's in a relationship with an addict, people say, okay, okay, I get it. They're using, this is hard. But for the folks in narcissistic relationships, a lot of people say, aren't you lucky that you're married to that guy? And the person's like, oh my gosh, are these people out of their mind? Like, so what do? They blame themselves.
What happens in that meeting? Is it the boys? Is it representatives?
It was us boys, which was great. The room felt cold that day. I can remember that. These are all the same faces that I've seen every single day, but I'd never quite felt an energy like that in the room. There was this emptiness. We all knew collectively where it was going. The thing that really bothered me, I remember saying like, well, if I'm going to try and do some stuff on my own, I was like, it'd be good to know how long this break's going to be for. So like, let's speculate. A year, 2 years, 5 years, 15 years? I never really got an answer to that question, which I understand now because the people or person involved was brave enough to answer that question deep down. I think they probably knew the reality.
And does Simon try and persuade you back into the band?
After about 2 years of One Direction, absolutely nobody could tell it. He was never involved in those kind of decision makings. In fact, he was smart enough to realize that that would rub us up the wrong way.
Someone's listening now. How much money do you think they should, at a minimum, have saved?
If you try to get technical about it, I would say, what are the odds that at some point in your life, you're going to lose your job and not be able to find another job for 6 months? The odds are not bad that will happen to you at some point. Not very comfortable to think about, but the odds that at some point that will happen are pretty good. And therefore, if you were to say, like, look, a good measure of a medium level of independence is I could keep myself going for 6 months. And for a lot of people, that's a daunting task. It's going to take some savings to get there. One of the important things there is when you lose that job, the ability to go find a good job, even a better job, is very important. If you don't have any savings, you're going to have to, by default, pick the very first job that you can come across, even if it's a terrible job in a location that you hate, doing something you hate, working with people you don't like. And so the flexibility to give yourself time to find a job that is a little bit easier and better for you, that is the purpose of savings.
My friend was drinking a can of Coca-Cola and I picked it up. And I looked at the back of it and it said the sugar quantity in it was something like 40%. So 40% of it is just sugar. And people are just...
That's why we have a fatty liver disease pandemic.
Sugar's fundamentally linked to things like cancer as well, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Are we seeing cancers growing?
Oh, absolutely. And people getting cancer earlier and earlier, especially colorectal cancer. My God, the mean age of colorectal cancer used to be 50 to 55. We are seeing patients with colorectal cancer in their 30s and early 40s. This is why.
Because of
sugar. That's a huge problem.
There is a generation yet to be born, but in the very near future, who every year you can expect to live 1 month longer because knowledge about human physiology has gotten better. Just think about it that way. There will come a day where every year that you're alive, medicine has figured out a way for you to live an extra year. That's the escape velocity. So every year you live another year. And after that, it could be every year you live 2 years. So that's the escape velocity. So it's not just everybody lives forever today. It sort of works its way into the population.
They had evidence that aliens existed. You know, some of these spacecraft footage that you see from the
Did they show you the alien?
No, but you see the videos of the things bouncing around in the sky.
Oh, fuzzy videos. So those are UFOs. They're not aliens.
UFOs, yeah.
There's a difference. Many people equate the two. But if you see something in the sky and you don't know what it is, it's a UFO. And what does the U stand for? Unidentified. Until you can identify it, it's a UFO. And because it does things that you don't understand, you cannot equate that with it being an alien. Once you just said you don't know what it is, that's the end of the sentence. You can't go on and say, therefore it must be anything. You can be impressed with videos that have no explanation. I don't have a problem with that. But you want to turn around and say it's aliens? You want to say it's a government cover-up? Do you really think the government is that competent? The same people who complain that the government is a bloated bureaucracy, inefficient bureaucracy that should be replaced by private enterprise. It's the same people making those same statements. So I love the aliens. I want to meet them too.
Dad, I don't want to go to law school anymore. I want to go to film school. And I'm like, a little bead of sweat starts to go down the back of my neck. I'm like, here it comes. You want to what? I thought he was going to go into other stuff about like my. You think I'm paying for that? You know, that can be a hobby. It's not a drill job. I thought all this was coming. And after about a 5-second pause, he goes, I hear this. Are you sure that's what you want to do? Yes, sir. Another long pause. Then I hear, well, don't have it. And I remember just beaming, hopping up. It's like, yes, launch pad, man. My dad not only said, okay, in the way he said, don't fast, it was also, okay, let's go, big boy. Own that.